Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. In War of the Visions, let's do a level 99 review of Kilphe. I'm not sure if Kilphe comes out this week or next in Global, but let's do a review of her anyway. I'll say this up front, she's one of my favorite units. I hesitate to use the word best because any definitive statement like this that you make about units or jobs or the meta in this game are wrong. I've said this many times, but it's worth repeating, that this game is not like most other games. The meta does not move in a straight line, it skips back and forth, left and right, and tier lists and rankings are crap because all units are good. It just depends on if a user puts in the effort to learn them, and then use them in the right place. To make broad generalizations does this game a disservice. It's more deep and nuanced than most people realize. Recently I made a statement about how JP users are moving away from dedicated tanks, and a lot of people latched onto that statement, and that's great. I'm flattered that anyone would listen to me. But some people misinterpreted it to mean that dedicated tanks are over, and like you shouldn't pull for a Warrior of Light. Again, that kind of definitive idea is absolutely not what I meant. If you go back to that statement, you'll see that I stress that whereas very early game, a dedicated tank was almost necessary to reach the top of PvP, now that is not so much the case, and that more and more units are being released that do not need a dedicated tank, but that teams that do use a dedicated tank are still super viable and plentiful in PvP in JP now. All units and all strategies are viable in PvP, it's just up to the user to make them work. And that's what saddens me about people that go for just the hype units. They're missing so much of the game. They are snorkeling when they could be scuba diving and discovering pirate treasure. That said, Kilphe is so good, she is my turn off my brain easy mode unit. If you've seen any of my arena videos the last 3 months, you've probably seen me use her. Even now, if I want a farming team that I can just throw into any situation, put on auto battle and be completely confident that they will be fine, it'll be like Agrias, Thancred, Miranda, and Kilphe here. It's funny, when she was announced in JP, I was like, cool, Earth Element Mage, I want her. And that was as far as my thinking went. I didn't think about how she would fit into the meta or anything. But she does great damage as an attacker. She is super tanky, so she doesn't need a dedicated tank. She has high stats, she counters Orlandeau, she counters Vineta, she counters all dark and or evade units. She heals, she generates hate, she does nearly everything. Her greatest weakness is her short range of attack, and somehow that balances her. Even though on paper she looks overpowered, she doesn't break the game. And then a unit being able to counter another unit is normal, but a unit like her that can counter 2 popular units at the same time with the same build is insane. That makes her a great choice for a defense guild battle team, since you don't know what's coming, but you can cover 2 popular bases very effectively. So, she is a counter to Orlandeau, and I don't know, some people are going to be like, Orlandeau's done, he's obsolete, he's power crept. And no, he's not. Again, that's not how this game works. Orlandeau users will have to be more careful about who they choose to fight, but his worth has not dropped at all. Same goes for Vineta, you just have to avoid teams with Holy if you can. And just to expand on a previous point, Kilphe is not even the first counter to Orlandeau. A Kiton built for Drain Force and or a Sasayaki built for Slash Resistance were both counters to him a long time ago, but you had to scuba dive to make those work. Kilphe as a counter is easier and more obvious. But anyway, let's look at her unit. Earth Element, main job Sorceress maybe, sub-job Spellblade and White Mage. For PvP, I usually use White Mage and turn off all skills but Holy, so I can counter Vineta and other evade units. But for PvE content, I'll leave the White Mage on, and then I'll turn on the healing, especially for longer places like the tower. Her Trustmaster is kind of crappy, to be honest, and I've never used it. The stats on it are nothing special, and then the active ability is a double-edged sword. At max, it will raise single target attack resistance by about 40%, but lower AoE attack resistance by about 25%. This could actually be okay for evade units that are worried about Holy or Sharpshoot, which are both single target attacks, but it leaves them more open to AoE attacks, which is a trade-off that I don't like. Okay, but let's move into her ability board. We'll look at main job Sorceress. This first one here, this is kind of her bread and butter. It's a very short range magic attack, but it can lower the CT gauge. So this is kind of like steal time, I guess, so this might be good for a raid. It does have a casting time, however quick it is, so that's something to keep in mind. Okay, here's a self-buff, raise, jump, and move. This is very important if you need to close the gap with her. And then here is Energy Buster. This might be her defining attack, but you target this weird like square right in front of you, and then you don't target units. This is not a lock-on attack. You just target the area. And so if people move out of the area by the time you get around to casting it, then you're not going to hit them. So you are going to want to be careful using this skill. But again, short range, you need to get pretty close. But it also has a 100% chance to hit. So she has this in addition to Holy, so this would be pretty great. Sometimes you see an Evadie or Landu. This will always hit him. Okay, here's another area buff, which will raise your faith. I guess if you wanted to raise your faith, if you wanted to raise people more, you could use that. I usually have this turned off though. And then here's another self buff. This will give you a self barrier against physical attacks. So yeah, a lot of her kit is specifically built so that she can go after Orlandu. Okay, and then we can look at the subjob of Sorceress. Here is Step and Magic, and I really like this ability. If there's a case where I don't need Holy and or Healing, then I'll gladly put the Sorceress subjob on, just for this Step and Magic. But this too can do pretty good damage, and also you'll move towards the target. This is like Gilgamesh or Thancred. Looks very cool, and then has nice movement utility as well. And then here is a TP skill. This will just hit everybody around her and confuse them. Doesn't matter if they are enemies or allies. Okay, and then here's another short-range magic attack. This one has a chance to stun. She can use this fairly often per battle too, so I like this one. You're probably going to be raising her faith anyway, because you want more magic damage, so she'll get a greater chance to stun there. Okay, and then most often I have the White Mage, and then here's Holy, of course. I think this is her best ranged attack, 4 panels away, so she'll often use this, even if it's not like a dark character or evade character. But we got Cura, Esuna, Cure, Protect, Curada, Raise, and Shell. So yeah, lots of nice stuff. She could be your main healer if maybe you don't need a lot of healing to do. No Raise, no Curaga, but that's cool. Sometimes I'll leave on Protect and Shell if I want her to buff my teammates, like early on in PvP, but for the most part I'll have most stuff turned off except for Holy. And then last is the Spellblade, which I don't use a lot, but if you wanted to use her as a tank, I think you could. And then in a previous video I did talk about how I like Spellblades that can tank physical, and you could add Kilphe to that list. Real quick, let's go back, let's look at her resistances. But right off the bat, 15 slash, 15 projectile, and then 10 magic. So you could use vision cards or whatever to raise resistances, maybe especially slash if you wanted to go against Orlandu or other slash characters. Okay, but also all the usual stuff that we see in here. Bioblade, Stone Blade, Magic Resist, that is the self-buff to raise the magic attack resistance. Magic Barrier, which will last for 3 hits. This will also protect you against magic attacks. And then a track spell, low cost, long range, and 3 uses per battle, so a very nice hate generation thing. I did want to talk about hate generation real quick. While most people think about hate as raising your hate on your tank, on the target that you want to have attacked, you can also consider lowering the hate of allies that you don't want to have attacked. I think I talked about this in a recent video, but on a healer or another character that you don't want to have attacked, you can put Kilphe or Vinet as Trustmaster on them. They have active abilities which will give them hide. So, if you pair Kilphe here with a healer like Ayaka, attacks will go more towards Kilphe anyway, even if you don't use a hate generation skill with her. So that's another way to approach hate. Maybe makes Vineta and Kilphe's Trustmasters more attractive. Okay, next let's look at support abilities. We have the magic up, that's normal. We have a defense up, that's very interesting for a magic user. If we equip that, that will give her defense 15 or so. And then let's see. This is protection against death or doom. And then last, this is very interesting. This is magic resistance up and lightning resistance up. So let's equip that. And then we'll look at her stats again. So yeah, magic resistance 22, lightning resistance 32. So yeah, if you wanted to go against Orlando, this would be way overboard, but you could certainly do that. And then reaction abilities, I have Magic Guard here. If she is attacked by a magic attack, she will reduce the damage of that attack. Also here, if she is hit with damage, she will reduce that. And then here's Regenerator. This is very nice for the tower where it's counting the skills that you use. You can get free healing from this if you get hit. All of these are pretty good. Just depends on what you want, I guess. Okay, and then Master Ability, HP up 20%. That's great for a magic user. And then here, this is casting time minus 20%. That's really good. That will directly help with her Energy Buster, which again, just targets the area. And then Limit Break, if you've seen my recent arena videos, you've seen her use this a lot. But this will break magic and then hit for magic, so this is kind of similar to Orlando, people like that. Pretty short range though, so you got to be close to use this. Okay, so those were Kilphe's jobs and skills, and then I don't usually talk about Espers and vision cards in unit reviews since those are very situational. They depend on her sub-job or her teammates or the map or your opponent. But here I'll talk about them because I can address a specific situation, and that is Orlando hunting. To be honest, you could use a generic build and still do great against Orlando, but if you really wanted to put him over a barrel, and that would satisfy me immensely, you could do this. But basically, Kilphe's plan is to self-buff, get close to Orlando, take his attack, and then attack him, possibly one-punching him. And as with so much of this game, when it comes to equipping, you have to kind of lean towards attack or defense while sacrificing the other. But if you're hunting for just Orlando, again, you can double up on the Sorceress job and sub-job. That step magic can be good for closing the gap. And then for the Esper, you could do Odin, of course. That will just give the Man-Eater. Or you could go for Cactar. He has both Lightning Slayer and Man-Eater. Or if you want to just more kind of general magic up, you could do Ramu or Shiva. And then for vision cards, here too you could just give her any magic up vision card. I could also recommend... this one here. I think this is out in Global. This will lower her own casting time and then raise magic for your party, so this would really match her. Okay, and then going back to the unit, you could give her the Platinum Robe. If you're crazy and you made a plus Platinum Robe, you could give that for the added projectile resistance, and HP and defense if you want. And then for the Trustmaster, I often use her with Salia's Trustmaster. That will give you Man-Eater on your magic, and that'll make her even better for PvP. Oh, and then one vision card that I forgot to mention, you can give her the Leonis Castle, I think. That will also give her 15 defense. So if you gave her a defense platinum robe and then the defense support ability, yeah, it should be very, very beefy against physical attackers. But yeah, that is a look at Kilphe. She still kind of messes with my mind, because I still haven't gotten around the idea of a mage that runs to the front and then can take hits. And then she looks like this on top of that. But yeah, she's awesome, use her all the time. Easy to use, good longevity. I don't know what more I can say about her, she's great. Okay, but that will do it for the level 99 review of Kilphe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.